Hello, sports lovers. A warm welcome to the most authoritative sporting channel here on social media. Today's episode is such an interesting one, and it is born out of curiosity. That is the main drive for this particular fight, as former two-time world champion David Benavidez would be taking on an accomplished Cuban amateur southpaw boxer in the person of David Morrell. There is the curiosity, and the battle of the unknown is what is fueling the public to be interested in this particular fight. And I'm going to give you the tale of the tape straight away. David Benavidez is coming into this particular fight as the older man of the two. He is 28 years, whilst David Morrell is 27 years. David Benavidez has the height advantage of one each. He is 6'2" and Morrell is 6'1". They are both going to compete at the lightweight division, which has a weight limit of 175. David Benavidez has a reach of 74.5 inches, whilst Morrell reach is 78.5. Now they are both undefeated. David Benavidez undefeated in 29 fights, whilst in just 11 fights, David Morrell is undefeated. So you could see the vast difference in experience, about 18 fight difference. Whilst David Benavidez' reach is quite interesting because it is coming out that Terence Buck Crawford has a longer reach. Terence Buck Crawford, though a smaller fighter, has a reach of 78. That means that Terence Buck Crawford has longer arms. Naturally, we would be analyzing how David Benavidez would have to close in the distance in order to reach the advantage of David Morrell. So I'll be talking about this fight in the category of power, skill, top opposition, the mentality of the fighters, and among other things. But first, let me talk about the magnitude of the event. This is a prime event, and it's going to be at the T-Mobile Arena, and it is going to be a pay-per-view bout. I think that David Benavidez would be the powerful fighter out of the two. David Morrell also has decent power, but David Benavidez has knocked out more formidable opponents than David Morrell. And one thing that is quite interesting in this particular fight is that David Benavidez's WBC interim lightweight championship would be on the line. That means that the winner of this fight can possibly get a fight against the undisputed championship rematch that is expected to happen on February 22nd in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So there is a lot of at stake for both fighters, as they have both been dogged by Saul Canelo Alvarez, both young, both in their physical prime, and David Benavidez, I think, is the more powerful of the two. Despite both moving up, they were not able to knock out their last opponents. David Benavidez came in the ring at the MGM Grand Arena somewhere middle of last year against no other person than Alexander Vosdik, where he secured a majority decision, winning the fight 117, 111, 119, 109, 116, 112, and that was a total dominance from David Benavidez. Whilst his opponent David Morrell also moved up to the same weight, and he came up against no other person than Kalasnik. I hope I did not butcher the name. And he also won that fight in a dominant manner: 117, 111, 118, 110, and 117, 111. So this goes to tell you that both men, upon moving on to the next weight, did not carry their power with them. They could not knock out their opponents. David Benavidez could not really hurt Vosdik in that particular fight. Bakalasri was hurt in the 8th round and the 9th round, but David Morrell failed to press the gas in order to finish off Kalasic. Now, let's look at the skill of both fighters. Both fighters have decent skill, but Morrell is a very, very skillful fighter coming from the Cuban Boxing Academy. He is well drilled and has a very, very good footwork, better than that of David Benavidez. But I think that David Benavidez also cuts off the ring quite well. In terms of defense, David Benavidez often takes a lot of punches on his hands, whilst David Morrell also ducks a lot of punches. So it's quite an interesting fight. How would David Benavidez react to a southpaw who is almost as big as him? We all remember that he recently fought Dimitri Andrade. Yes, Dimitri Andrade is a southpaw, a very skilled one, but he is a smaller man. This time around, he is coming up against someone who is of the same size as him. And we all remember, Boo Boo in the fight against Benavidez was having the best of round in the first 2 rounds before Benavidez totally took over and started dominating the fight. But with this particular fight, David Benavidez would also need to start fast, because we all remember that against Caleb Plant, David Benavidez also did not start that particular fight, losing the first 4 rounds or 5 rounds on many people's card before he started applying pressure in order to start dominating the fight from the 6th round, and then went all 12 rounds with Caleb Plant. Now, what is interesting is that Morrell knocked out my own countryman Senna Agbeko in 2 rounds, and I think that was a very big, huge statement in which he was making, because as at that time when he was calling for the Saul Canelo Alvarez fight, Senna Agbeko is a constant sparring partner of Saul Canelo Alvarez. So he being able to finish off Senna Agbeko in 2 rounds, a lot of people thought that he would get the Canelo fight, but that did not happen. Edgar Berlanga was the one who got the fight, and Morrell, called out David Benavidez, and now the fight is happening. This goes to tell me that means that he has watched a lot of tapes of Benavidez, and he is prepared to go all out and knows how he would be able to overcome David Benavidez in this particular fight. Now, David Morrell does not have he doesn't have any proven fighter on his record. Though he has shown a lot of skill, he doesn't have any proven fighter on his record in which you can look at and see that, no, this is because in boxing we have seen so many guys who have shown a lot of excitement but later faded off when they meet match of equals. But with David Benavidez, he has a good record of a number of people who are on his record that can be spoken about. David Lemieux, though a smaller man, he is a former world champion. Caleb Plant, Demetrius Andrade, Alexander Vosdek, who was former unified champion at the division before losing to Ata Beterbiev. So these are good names on the record of David Benavidez. That is why a lot of people are urging him to be the favorite in this particular fight. But in this particular fight, one thing I see that would go in favor of the winner is the on-fly adjustments. The person must be able to do adjustments without going back to his corner, and I think that David Morrell has that ability more than David Benavidez. David Benavidez is able to go back, do some tactical changes, but it is not often as dominant as that of David Morrell. So I see the adjustment aspect going to that of David Morrell. But in boxing, it's about 80%. It's about 80% mental, and that is why David Benavidez, who is a proven fighter, who has been through difficulties, he has been knocked down, came back to win the fight. He has lost his title both recreationally to drugs and has lost it on the scale, but also came back to win world championship. I think that the mental toughness of David Benavidez would be the utmost winner in this particular fight, and I'm predicting a split decision win for David Benavidez in this particular fight. This is my take on this particular fight. If you have not subscribed till this point, this is the right time to do so. Thank you for watching. Stay positive. Your greatness has no limit. Thank you.